able to at this point, so they're thinking that it's an issue on their end. So we are now live on YouTube, so those that were awaiting should be able to see it. We have not started the meeting yet. We are awaiting one more attendee and one counselor to connect. We were just having some technical difficulties. So once that counselor has connected, then we will be proceeding with the meeting. So not to worry, I recognize it is 7:30 and I apologize for the late start, but we are just trying to resolve an issue to ensure that all counselors are present. This is our second meeting of the night, so we are all ready to go as soon as we are connected, and we'll get started.
Mr. Mayor, I still don't have that extra phone number. I do have Councillor Moore on the phone here, so she'll be able to hear what's happening, and
Oh,
if there's
fantastic.
anything that she needs, she can let us know.
All right, excellent. So we do have all members of council present. Councillor Moore is on the phone, so you're not going to be able to see her, but she is present and listening. So with that, I will call to order tonight's special council meeting of the Township of Cavan on this Monday, November 30th. I'd ask for approval of tonight's agenda. Need a mover? Deputy Mayor Graham, seconder. Councillor Huntley. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Huntley?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Belch?
Unmute Councillor Belch. Madam Clerk, can you unmute Councillor Belch?
It's on his end. Maybe if you just...
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes.
I'm only hearing you. Is that all I should hear?
Deputy Mayor Graham
Yes.
and Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. Kathy, can you hear me?
Can you not hear them at all, Councillor Moore?
Councillor
Not
Moore?
a word.
Hmm.
Are you on your cell phone, Madam Clerk? Are you on your cell phone?
No, I hear 'em.
We're good now.
You're all good now. Okay, fantastic. All right, I'd ask that any members of the council declare any pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof at this time or when the situation arises. Seeing none, there is no closed session, so we will open our public meeting. Can I have a motion to open the public meeting? Councillor Belch, Councillor Huntley. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Belch,
Yes.
Councillor Huntley,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. We are now in a public meeting. Item 6.2 is the ORV presentation. Madam Clerk, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is our ORV public meeting with regard to the legislation that was put forward through Bill 107, the Getting Ontario Moving Act. Next slide, please. So the intent of our public meeting tonight is to hear from residents specifically in the Cavan ward with respect to the changes to the legislation as it pertains to the Highway Traffic Act and the off-road vehicles. For the purpose of this presentation, when we refer to the ORVs, it will be off-road vehicles, and highways are as referred to in the Act, but they are all roads in the Township of Cavan and the County of Peterborough. This is a ward boundary map just to give you a visual of the size of Cavan. You can see, Millbrook in the small green area there, and North Monaghan off to the right in purple, and the size of Cavan surrounding Millbrook, the areas that we are going to talk about. So there was a number of changes, and the legislation was, I think, a little bit confusing. Part 10.3 of the Act deals specifically with off-road vehicles, and Bill 107 was that Getting Ontario Moving Act, which essentially received royal assent on June the 6th, 2019. It amended the section 191.8 of the Act, And there was a number of things also that got amended, but these were specifically with the regulations that were with regard to ORVs. There's 2 regulations, and the one that speaks directly to the ORVs being permitted on our roadways will be effective on January 1st, 2021. Go to the next slide, Cindy. The other portion of the act was referencing the classifications of vehicles. So they had certain off-road vehicles that were permitted, and they expanded the classification. There's a number of things within the regulation. If you wanted to go back and read it, I did not include them all in this slide, but the first part of this was to deal with the classifications, and the second part of it was to deal with off-road vehicles on highways or parts of highways within the municipality. Go ahead to the next one. So the common off-road vehicles that most of us are aware of are your ATVs or your four-wheelers, and then there were side-by-sides. Those were previously identified as ORVs. And then the expanded types of ORVs included off-road motorcycles as well as extreme terrain vehicles. So this legislation essentially would allow all of these vehicles on the roadways. So the regulatory amendments enable the use of ORVs and drivers, and they can classify the drivers, so certain drivers with certain licenses, on municipal road allowances unless the municipality restricts the use by bylaw. The regulation is intended to open the use of municipal roads to ORVs where it is supported by council. So again, this is specifically out of the act. So council may pass bylaws permitting the operation of off-road vehicles or classes of off-road vehicles on any highway within the municipality that's under the jurisdiction of the municipality or any part of such highway. They can also prohibit the operation of off-road vehicles on any highway within the municipality that's under the jurisdiction of the municipality or any part or parts of such highway. And they can also choose to prescribe lower rates of speed for off-road vehicles than what is regulated within the Act for different types of vehicles as well as different parts of highways. So there's also the option to do a combination of any or all of these. So they can permit ORVs on some roads, but not all. They can regulate different rates of speed where appropriate. And they can also regulate hours of operation and set fines for those that don't adhere to those bylaws. So currently in Cavan Monaghan, as it stands today, ORVs are not permitted on any highway, being township roads, unopened road allowances, parks, or municipally owned property. Council has adopted a bylaw specifically for the Millbrook and North Monaghan wards to prohibit ORV use when the new legislation comes into effect, until the County of Peterborough gathers input on ORV use as part of the development of their transportation master plan. If anybody's interested in going and taking a look at that, we do have a link from our website to the county's website. Council has passed a resolution not in support of the route connecting the Victoria Rail Trail to the Ganaraska Forest along the west side of the municipality. And tonight, Council is seeking input from the Cavan Ward residents on the future of ORVs in the Cavan Ward. So in addition to our public meeting tonight, comments will continue to be received until December the 4th. You can complete the form online. It's still available there. You can complete the form in person if you want to come into the office. You can download it, you can drop it off, and you're also welcome to email orv@cavanmonaghan.net. Alternatively, if you're having challenges with any of that, you're more than welcome to call myself and I can take your comments over the phone. We will summarize all the comments and staff will bring a staff report back in early 2020 for council to make a decision on the ORV use.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So first off, we'll just turn it over to council. Is there any questions from members of council pertaining to the presentation? If you could just minimize the presentation so I can see all of council, please. And to Councillor Moore, I can't see you, but if you do have a question, by all means, don't hesitate to let me know. So I don't see any questions from members of council. So with that, I am going to turn it over to the registered participants. We do have 15 participants that have pre-registered for tonight. They are going to be brought online in alphabetical order, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Any questions that are being posed by the speakers tonight will be noted, and they will be responded to as part of the staff report that Ms. Arthurs referred to in her presentation. This is for Cavan Ward residents only, and those are the 15 registrants that have indicated an interest to speak tonight. So any questions or relevance to North Monaghan or Millbrook are not going to be addressed tonight or as part of the staff report that's coming back in January or in the new year, 2021. As the clerk had indicated earlier, there will be a separate opportunity specific to North Monaghan and Millbrook that will be done in parallel with the Peterborough County Transportation Master Plan. That will be later in 2021. So please reserve any comments relative to those wards, not for tonight, but certainly during that component. And commenting on the Cavan Ward roads will be open for the public to provide comment until December 4th. So the end of this week, if you've got comments over and above what's been said tonight, please by all means submit your comments to our clerk, orv@cavanmonaghan.net by December 4th of this week. So with that, Madam Clerk, I will turn it over to you.
Just, Mr. Mayor, so you were aware, we do have one that still has not come in via the telephone. We have one in on telephone as well as he's here. So that the number at 14 essentially is, we only actually have 14. So I'm not sure what happened to that last person. That was
Okay, very good.
Go ahead.
Excellent. Okay, so are we ready then for the first speaker?
Yes.
Madam Clerk? Okay, our first speaker tonight is Brian Aubrey. Brian, are you there? You should be unmuted on this end, so you should be able to go ahead and speak now.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Brian. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Thank you for having this forum for the residents of Cavan Ward. After all, we're the ones that are most impacted. ORVs, just like they are called, are designed for off-road use. In fact, some, if not all manufacturers state that in their owner's manual or stickers on the machine. This is a suggestion, I know, but there must be a reason for the suggestion. Next point, noise, speed, multiple passengers, and the age of drivers are the problems with ORVs. Enforcement or policing of these regulations or laws has been a problem and will be a problem in the future, an impossibility to enforce. I have mixed feelings on the speed of ORVs. If they go fast, the noise they make goes away fast. That's a good thing. I have been and still am a member of the community policing, and as such did do speed monitoring on almost all of the township roads. And just an aside, the average speed is about 25 clicks above the posted speed limit. The information gathered was then sent to the OPP or city police to aid in enforcement. And as far as I have seen, with little success. I guess some success is better than none. I encourage council to not expand the range of roads available to ORVs. Thank you for listening, and any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Aubrey. Our next speaker, Madam Clerk, is Todd Carlton. Todd, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Welcome, Todd.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for an opportunity to speak. Appreciate my family and a few immediate neighbors, specific to ORVs, recognizing that we live in the country and we can certainly appreciate the recreation that people enjoy in using these vehicles. However, we have two major concerns with this current proposal. First and foremost is safety. As if any of you have been on our road, you know that Dranola Road does not have any shoulders. And once you get past Sire lay of the land, there's banks on both sides. There's blind hills, poor sight lines, blind corners, and S curves. And it has been difficult, and although we appreciate the improvements that have come to a certain portion of the road, it is difficult for the municipality to maintain the road with the current residential traffic and school buses, etc., and just feel that the added strain of multiple conditions and incur a cost to the town. Further to that, just in the lines of just the last gentleman talking about speed, my family's been living here for 13 years, and there have been ORVs on the roads almost every single day now when it's currently not allowed, and traveling at a high rate of speed. And so that being said, there's the biggest concern is the safety factor. I'm given to understand an individual or representative from the town's insurance company also had gone down the road and cited some findings in the safety aspect of it, which would just lead to a huge liability to the town should there be an accident. There are several neighbors down at the bottom end of Dranola who have had near misses and approached some of the corners on the road and been met by ORVs coming around the corner sideways. Granted, I'm sure that's not all operators, and there are lots of operators that are it's just opening up an opportunity for a major safety concern that we're concerned with. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Todd. Just so you're aware, while you were speaking, there was intermittent circumstances where we couldn't hear you, and it was sort of at different times. But that being said, if you were reading specifically from notes or have something typed up, if you want to ensure that your points get into the clerk, just if you wouldn't mind forwarding that on to orv@cabanmonaghan.net, just in case there was any specific points that you mentioned that we didn't hear tonight, just to ensure that those are in.
I broke up a couple times, I take it?
Yeah, you broke up a couple times and then you came back. So it was very clear, and then there was just certain parts of sentences that went missing. So if you just submit those comments in, then we can ensure that nothing that you said was lost tonight.
Yeah, I've already submitted them in.
Perfect.
Just in a nutshell, it was the biggest concern is the safety with the blind corners and the hills and the poor sight lines.
Okay,
that's
super.
The biggest concern for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Carlton.
Thank you.
And for future speakers, if there's any issue or concern that your internet may not support the Zoom, you may wish to turn off your video when you're speaking so that the focus is on your audio component, because we don't see the speakers anyways. We can hear you, but we don't see you. So you may wish to save some bandwidth just by turning off your video. That being said, Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Dawn Chapman. Welcome, Dawn. Dawn, can you hear us? We can't hear you yet. Madam Clerk has unmuted you. You should be able to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome, Dawn.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members and staff that are working tonight. I am in favor of having ORVs on the roads. They've been on the roads in the township for many, many years now, basically without incident. I do know that there are some people that drive totally erratically, but you get that in cars, trucks, everything else that's on the roads also. And by writing a bylaw, I don't believe that it's going to change the fact that these people are on the roads. If anything, it's just going to make them drive more erratically, which I'm not sure how it would work, but it might actually put more liability onto the township because of that. Some of the residents in the township would like you to believe that if the roads are open, there's going to be a huge influx of ORVs into the township. And I don't believe that's going to happen. Like, really, where are they going to go? Millbrook's off bounds currently. So there's no place for them to go, and most ORV operators don't want to drive on roads anyways. The idea of this was to open the roads within the township so township residents can get from their home to the trail and back home again. Initially, it had been to also access gas and potentially food in the village, but with that being off the table at the moment, it's not a big deal. Some of the people are also going on about all the trespassing from ORVs. I've lived here my whole life, and yes, people do trespass with ORVs, which is wrong. I agree with that, but they're not the only ones. I have seen a lot of walkers, cyclists, and horseback riders trespassing too. And none of these people take into consideration if they're trespassing, it doesn't matter. Trespass is trespass. So, you know, it's kind of hard to say that ORVs are the only ones doing it when there's a lot of people doing it. A lot of it right now is, it's not a case of when or where ORVs are going to be. It's where they're allowed. As of January 1st, the province has opened it up. The roads will be opened unless the councils restrict use. So it's where they are. So the province has done this. And part of it was the intent of bringing business to, business to small businesses. Again, that's now off the table. So I'm running out of time. So anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chapman. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is David Frank. David, are you there?
I am indeed here.
Hi, David. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am grateful to have had an opportunity to speak to a number of Cavan residents who ATV, and I want to say that I respect their enthusiasm and their right to ride authorized trails. ATVs are vehicles with a high center of gravity and a narrow wheelbase designed for that off-road use. Now, I don't doubt that you can drive an ATV slowly and safely on a road, especially with no other traffic around. The problem is that sometimes people do not. Here's a sample of some headlines from the Peterborough Examiner, all from 2020. April, serious injuries after UTV crashes near Norland. May, killed in ATV collision west of Buckhorn. June, man killed in ATV crash north of Peterborough. October, man dies after all-terrain vehicle flips in Cramahe. These are not just headlines. They're people whose deaths or injuries are an avoidable tragedy. Many Cavan ORV users are, no doubt, responsible operators. But our roads would also be open to many other operators from Toronto and elsewhere. And in every random group of people, there are a few who are sometimes reckless. Side-by-sides like the Polaris General can go easily 100 kilometers an hour. Just one reckless moment is all it takes to change a family's lives forever. Driving ORVs on the road for agricultural purposes is already legal. We're talking tonight about ORVs as recreation. Does the wish not to have to trailer outweigh the need of all Cavan residents for roads that are as safe as possible? If you permit ORV use and there is an accident and the township is sued, as I'm told we could be, what happens to our township's insurance premiums? If, God forbid, even one person dies in a rollover or is scarred by a collision on Cavan roads, will opening roads have been worth it? Our roads are hilly, of varying quality, often narrow and lacking a shoulder, and they're already busier than ever before with farm equipment, dump trucks, and an influx of residents. Many concerned residents declined the opportunity to speak tonight because they were uncomfortable about speaking in public. But we call on councillors to think beyond this moment. Think of the people you can protect and think of the quality of life for all residents. Your foremost duty is to protect us. And a great way to do this would be to pass a bylaw confining ORVs to authorized trails. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Celia Hunter. Welcome, Celia.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Celia. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor McFadden, Deputy Mayor Graham, Councillors Moore, Huntley, and Belch, I thank you for this opportunity to speak. First, I'd like to acknowledge the popularity of off-road recreational trail riding on routes designed specifically for off-road vehicles, including ATVs, side-by-sides, and dirt bikes. Enjoy safe off-road recreational trail riding, yes, but continue to trailer or transport off-road vehicles to trailheads. I would like to emphasize here that farmers operating off-road vehicles to conduct farm-related work are exempt from the Act and can continue to operate as they've been doing. I'd like to reference several sources. The Recreational Off-Highway Vehicle Association is a not-for-profit trade organization formed to promote the safe and responsible use of recreational off-highway vehicles manufactured or distributed in North America. Its members include Arctic Cat, Can-Am BRP, Honda, Kawasaki, Mahindra, Polaris, Textron Specialized Vehicles, and Yamaha. The Recreational Off-Highway Vehicle Association has taken a position, and that is in opposition to on-highway operation of recreational off-road vehicles, noting that the definition of highway is any public road. It states, ROVs are designed, manufactured, and sold for off-highway use only. ROVs are not designed, manufactured, or in any way intended for use on public streets or highways. Similarly, the ATV Safety Institute states, never ride on paved roads except to cross when done safely and permitted by law. ATVs are designed to be operated off-highway. The Canadian Quad Council states, ride on designated trails. ATVs/quads are designed to be operated off-highway and at a safe speed for the conditions. Never ride on paved roads except to cross them safely and only where permitted by law. Despite the rules laid out by these organizations that represent riders' interests, this council's been charged with making a decision based on the factual evidence it gathers. I trust that council will be guided by the opinions expressed by Robin McLeave, Senior Vice President, Risk Management of JLT Canada, Inc., the township's insurance broker, and Ed Veldboom, the township solicitor, and by the Peterborough Board of Health and our medical officer of health. I urge council to pass a bylaw specific to Cavan Ward to extend the prohibition of all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hunter. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Mitchell Jonkier. Mitchell, welcome.
Unmute. Good evening, Mayor McFadden.
Welcome.
I'm in favor of having OTVs on the road. Just noting some of the conversations going on, there seems to be a number of what ifs in this scenario. I did want to note that this is just a scenario of what ifs. I'd like to highlight some positive sides of the ATVs being on the road. I live on Tapley Quarter Line and don't take my four-wheeler much more than a kilometer in either direction from my home. But in doing so, I've been able to help my community and the surrounding people that would have had difficulties if I wasn't able to take it out of my yard and onto the roadways. It's important to note that the roadways are not just the paved surfaces noted in the last conversation, but also the road allowance, which would be the end of your driveway, which you would use to plow, or in the ditch, which you would use to often move your ATV on an unpaved surface from location to location. There's been many times in the winter where I've helped pull people out of the ditch. I can think of one instance where I helped a young lady coming to visit her father, where her car ended up in the ditch that I was able to pull out with my four-wheeler in a safe and effective manner, which kept other vehicles off the road. I can also think of an unfortunate death that was on our road and left a young mother and a child who had no means to plow their driveway. I was able to take my four-wheeler on the ditch to their road and plow their driveway for them, such that they were able to get out. 2 summers ago, Hydro came and cut a number of trees on our roadway. They cleared all the brush, but they left all the stumps behind. We have a family that lives up the road from us that, unfortunately, the gentleman is handicapped and is unable to clear them. A number of us are able to use our four-wheelers, traveling safely through the ditches on the roadway where required, to connect to these trees and pull them out so they were able to have a clean and safe yard. I really want to encourage my children to have a use to four-wheelers and one day be able to take them onto the trails, even if that doesn't involve driving a short distance to access them. There's been a number of what ifs and a lot of the negative connotations around four-wheelers. I think sometimes we need to shed some positive intent on what users plan to use them for around our Cavan ward. It is important that we have a sense of community and involvement among our groups. I would support driving my four-wheeler to my community to support them in their times of need. We need to stop talking about the what ifs and what the positive effects of having this are. On the note of the blind sight lines, those blind sight lines still exist for tractors, for bicyclists and motorcycles. They will be there whether they're an ATV or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mitchell. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Bev McGee. Bev, are you there? Bev? Madam Clerk, I believe Bev is coming through via phone, correct?
Mr. Mayor, I actually have Bev logged in.
Okay,
Unmute. There, can you hear me now?
we can hear you now, Bev. Welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us the chance to speak tonight. Thank you, Mayor and staff and the council attending the meeting. I am a homeowner and a side-by-side owner. I live on Stewart Line and I'm not very far from Drenol and Sharp Line. And I probably am on the road basically to get to my brother's house and maybe the odd neighbor here and there. I have never been on County Road 10. I drive safely, and I have heard, as the gentleman just previously spoke, a lot of negative things about using your side-by-sides or off-road vehicles on the road. And I find that somewhere the person driving the vehicle has the responsibility to be driving safely and not speeding. Everyone's worried about speed and safety and the influx from people from other areas. I just can't see a bunch of 10 or 15 RVs coming down and parking on the road in a trailer and then heading off around our countryside roads. Like I'm in a rural area because that's where I want to be. I bought my side-by-side from a local businessman, Todd's Equipment. He also supports the community in every way that he can. And he sells these vehicles, not so that I can drive around on my lawn, but so that I can actually go out and enjoy a nice sunny Sunday afternoon on a trail if I can get to it. Of course, I don't have a trailer to trailer it anywhere because I assume that I can get into it and drive to a trail if that's what I want to do. But if I want to go around the block on a sunny Sunday afternoon, I feel that that's a right that we should have. And I feel that these sight lines and all of the blocks that people want to have so that you shouldn't be on the road are ridiculous. I think people have to be responsible for themselves, and I think that they are. I think we should be allowed to go to places to get gas and food and across county roads if that's what we need to do. And I don't see why the township would be against that. And I don't understand why the township would be solely responsible for me if I go in the ditch and hurt myself or anyone else. I think that's why we have it. I have a license and insurance for my vehicle. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much, Bev. Our next speaker, Tom McMahon, is on the phone. So Tom, first off, welcome. And because you can't see the screen, there is a 3-minute timer that's on the screen once you start talking. I will just, I'll just give you a quick indication when you've got 30 seconds left, just so you are aware. All right, Tom, are you there?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if he's aware. If he hits *6, that should unmute him.
Okay, very good. Tom?
Okay.
Excellent. We can hear
Tom
you.
McMahon, I'm here now. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. And if you didn't hear that before, I'll give you a heads up when there's 30 seconds.
Okay. Thank you for council and Mayor McFadden for hearing me. I am for four-wheelers, all ATVs on the road. I believe we have, just like the last caller called in, we have a license, we have insurance. The Highway Traffic Act can look after anybody that's operating erratically. I hear all these scare stories from round sharp corners. Oh, there was a guy come down to 115 the other day and he got caught at 155 kilometers an hour with a car. You telling me that cars don't speed on these side roads as well? I think Cavan, if they don't pass this, is acting irrational and unresponsible to the needs of the people. I lived in Halliburton. I had a cottage in Halliburton, Wilberforce area for 15 years. They were here and there down the main streets of Halliburton. I'm sure there was the odd incident, but it wouldn't be anywhere near the incidents of other people. Example, e-bikes, no license, no insurance, and they're all over the place. So basically, that's about all I have to say, and I appreciate you hearing me.
Thank you very much, Tom. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is James McPherson. James, are you there? James? Madam Clerk, is he on the line or is he via video?
Mr. Mayor, he has come in via video. I've just clicked request to unmute.
Okay.
There, you should be good now.
Hello, you hear me, Scott?
I can hear you. Welcome, James. You've got 3
Good.
minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow members of Cavan Monaghan Township. For a number of years, the issue of allowing ORVs to travel on township roads in Cavan Monaghan Township has been an ongoing discussion between the pro supporters and the non-supporters, whether council should put in place
Sorry, James, we just lost you. Are you still there? Madam Clerk, can you stop the timer? We can't hear him. Mr. McPherson? We might have lost him. Madam Clerk, if he doesn't come back, we can move on to the next speaker and certainly come back to Mr. McPherson at the end.
Sure, I will leave him up for now so that if he does resume connection, at least we will know, and then you can let him know that we can bring him back in.
Okay, very good. Oh, James, is that you back again? No? Okay. James, if you are able to reconnect, we will certainly add you at the end to speak. But with that, we will continue. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Gary Otten. Go ahead, Gary.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, do you just want to give me one more second? Let me see if I can bring James back in here.
Okay, very good.
No, it doesn't look like I can. I'll watch and we can try them again after.
Okay, very good. So our next speaker is Gary Auden. Go ahead, Gary. Just click your unmute button if you haven't connected yet.
He appears to be unmuted now.
Okay, go ahead, Gary. Any luck, Gary, at that end? You're still muted, maybe. Okay, Madam Clerk, maybe we'll come back to Gary as well then.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Al Steele. Al, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Al.
Okay, thank you.
The floor is yours.
Mayor, Council, the same like deja vu. It actually was 575 days since I presented the multi-use trail system for Kevin Monaghan Township, or quote, the plan. I'm glad so many people on this call actually understand the value of multi-use trails, because really multi-use trails is what most off-roaders really want to go and use if they're not using it around their house. I have to compliment the Ontario government with what they've done with Bill 107, and specifically a regulation 316-3. It really lays out things because it talks about the who, what, and how takes place. Who can drive? You're talking about licensed, insured, people that have had training and passed tests. What, the type of vehicle, no more any issues about pollution, tires, what have you. They've classified it. And how it's actually driven down the particular township roads. The only question comes up is when and where. And that's your responsibility. And when I take a look at it, going back to the original document presented 2 years ago, it really talked about not every place is a good place to have ORVs running. You have to take them selectively, look at some of the things that have been talked about. But when you do, you take a look at the whole, that they are relatively safe as defined by the MOT. I support the use of ORVs on township properties. And that's coming from someone that doesn't own one. I believe that there is a community out there that will come together to do self-policing for the particular instances that do come up. People want to continue to be able to utilize things they're given the privilege to use, and will be active out there making sure those that don't abide by the rules step up and take responsibility. I thank the township for allowing this meeting to take place and the dialogue that's so ensued. Anyways, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steele. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Dennis Zalagi. Dennis, are you there?
Yes, I'm here now, Scott.
Welcome, Dennis.
Welcome. Distinguished mayor, council members, and township staff of Kevin Monaghan and Kevin Monaghan residents. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today regarding the proposed bylaw on the use of ORVs on our township roadways. Being a resident in the southern part of Cavan Ward for 25 years, it is interesting that this issue is only now being addressed. Occasionally, I have seen ORVs driving down the line where I reside, and it was somewhat surprising to learn that this was not permitted. On several occasions recently, an individual has been putting printed messages in my mailbox regarding these meetings. Many of the questions raised in these messages are what-if questions intended to elicit an emotional response. What if there's trespassing? What if excessive speed or excessive noise? What if ORVs are traveling on designated walking trails, accidents, safety, liability, etc.? The response being sought to these questions is one of anxiety and fear, very strong emotions. But the appropriate response to this is that these are in fact law enforcement issues and should be treated as such. Instead of asking what if, please consider asking why. Why would somebody want to do these illegal activities? After spending thousands of dollars on equipment, only to risk fines and potential loss of their driver's licenses, it does not make sense. Don't misunderstand me. We always know that there are bad apples out there. However, those few people who do not respect others of the law should not be a reason to outrightly prohibit ORVs on the roadways. There are many positives that have already been mentioned by previous participants here. Please look at surrounding jurisdictions for insight. Being new to ORV riding myself, I personally experienced recently riding through Hastings, where the trail system goes right through the middle of town on local roads, and where the actual trail, which is the old railway bed, was used. It was easy to see pedestrians, cyclists, dog owners walking their pets, and ORVs all using the same trail. There were no problem. Everyone was in fact friendly and waving to each other. We stopped in town, purchased lunch and fuel, and at the local establishments. Back here in Cavan Ward, there are many law-abiding ORV owners, and both local and visitors would be happy to drive respectfully and support our local businesses if it was eventually permitted. In closing, I would also like to acknowledge that any bylaw that is enacted is not a final once and done passing of the law, but can be revisited based on new information. I would like to suggest Cavan Ward consider approving the use of ORVs in township roads, but that they can include limits on hours of operation, speed limit considerations, etc. Only if actual evidence of that problems exist is the time for additional law enforcement, or if law enforcement is not capable of dealing with it, only then should further revisions to the bylaw be made. Please don't allow fearful what-if questions to undermine your influence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Chris Vanden Hiller. Chris, are you there?
I'm here, Council. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Just speaking very quickly to a point the Deputy Mayor made about whatever side of the fence you are on this one, to take compassion in what the fears or concerns are within the other side. That said, Council, I'd like to bring some points. I am pro opening our roads to ORVs. I currently been a resident for 18 plus years, and I participate in some volunteering with the snowmobile clubs here that operate within our township. And I assure that if we are permitted, our responsible RVs are permitted on the roads, we will take some self-policing into account, just as we do in the snowmobile realm, where I participated. I'm a trail warden or trail patrol, making sure that some of the fears such as trespassing, excessive noise, and irresponsibility are addressed and done by both sides. So we'll participate in that. And being a resident, I just want to offer some concern that I'm on Carmel Crescent, and being able to legally help neighbors with plowing, snow removal, and so on and so forth with the ORV, and doing it legally just simply makes sense to me. So by banning this or making a bylaw not allowing us to do that legally, in fear of some, as we've said or heard other speakers speak, that there will always be the irresponsible, and there will always be those ones that will do it. Penalizing the responsible ORV and residents that will take this and use it to our advantage to help neighbors, to legally get to trailheads from our own driveways and do so in a safe and a responsible fashion. In addition to that, I think that council should consider what Ontario's done in a big movement to this Bill 107 and move forward to this, just like what we've done with snowmobiling and allowing snowmobiles to drive tourism dollars into small communities, allowing it to be done safely, allowing the community itself to self-police and to basically be responsible for the same things that the opposition is fearful of that I've heard mentioned here tonight, such as trespassing, excess noise, and irresponsibility. So I want to thank council and thank you for giving me the opportunity of speaking this evening.
Very good. Thank you very much, Chris. I'm going to go back to one of the speakers in case it was the microphone that was affecting them so that they can reconnect via the phone. Madam Clerk, Gary Otten, can you unmute him and see if he can connect? Gary, are you there?
It appears there's something wrong with his microphone. He does come in, he shows mute initially and then turns off the mute, but there's no sound. So I presume it's something on his end that's not allowing him.
It's muted. Okay. Oh, that was something that wasn't you. Gary, was that you? Briefly? Okay, if not, we can provide the dial-in phone number so that you can call in to connect, and we can go that route. Okay, Madam Clerk, I will continue on then down the list. Our next speaker is Don Waters. Don, are you there? Mr. Waters? Madam Clerk, you've unmuted them, so maybe could they have muted on their end? I know this one's connected before.
Yes, I have permitted them to speak, but it doesn't appear that they've unmuted themselves.
Okay. If you can hear us, there's a mute button on your screen. Just click on that. You should be able to speak.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Go ahead, Don.
Very good. Thank you. Welcome, Don.
Well, thank you very much for taking my call to the council. I'm pro ATV on the roads. I've been riding ATVs and snowmobiles and recreational products for years. And I don't really see anybody roaring up and down the road, just roar up and down the road on these ATVs, because there really isn't any fun in that. They use the roads to get to the trails. And any place up north in Northern Ontario, it's all legal, and the township benefits from these vehicles with gas and whatnot, the same as snowmobiles. So to prevent farms and people from accessing these trails, I think is a mistake. But I understand the fear that people have that they're going to be all these people from Toronto and all over the place just to come down and ride around on our roads. It's not likely, because there is no fun in that. They use it to access the main trails, and that's what it should be used for. As far as the law concerns, there is going to be lawbreakers, but on the whole, people are responsible. And to prevent them from going on the roads, they will try and access the trails through farms and stuff like that. So there will be a bit of an issue that way, and no trespassing and whatnot. But I am definitely in favor of it, and I think it makes sense to allow these vehicles on the road in a responsible way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. Madam Clerk, our next speaker is Robert Winslow. Robert, is 5527, I believe.
Yes,
Robert,
Hello?
are you?
sorry,
Can
he's
you hear-
also logged in, so I've
Oh,
allowed.
we can hear you. I just heard you, Robert.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I live at 779 Zion Line in Cavan Ward, fifth generation of my family on this property. I was born and raised on our farm, which I retrofitted into a live outdoor theater in 1992, almost 30 years ago. As I look out on Zion Line, the township road in front of my farm, several thoughts come to mind. My part of Zion's winding, narrow, hilly, steep bank and without shoulders. It's a beautiful stretch of road down which travel at 80 kilometers per hour cars, trucks of all sizes, motorcycles, commercial industrial vehicles, including garbage and recycling trucks, tractors and other large farm machines, and a number of about 30 to 50 every hour of the day and evening. The road's also frequented by joggers, walkers, dog walkers, and cyclists. I feel to add off-road vehicles to this is an accident waiting to happen. With the continuing increase of vehicular and other traffic on all roads in our growing township, I feel it is ill-advised to add recreational off-road vehicles into the mix. I don't believe it makes sense from a safety point of view. To quote the Polaris Canada website on ATV safety, Polaris being one of the largest ORV manufacturers in the world, quote, never ride on paved roads except across when done safely and permitted by law. Another vehicle could hit you. ATVs are designed to be operated off highway, end of quote. My road, the Zion Line, in addition to the traffic I just described, also has thousands of cars coming and going each summer to Fourth Line Theater here on my farm. I believe having ORV traffic on this road while our patrons are arriving at and leaving the theater will be an added danger. Beyond this, the added noise from ATVs, side-by-sides, and dirt bikes during our performances will, I feel, reduce the appeal of our theater in nature as we try to get back on our feet after the pandemic. It is my understanding that ORVs often travel in large groups as well as singly. In a movie theater, you can ask the person who is talking in the row ahead of you or behind you to shush so you can enjoy the film properly. Our theater patrons won't have that option as ATVs, side-by-sides, or dirt bikes pass by the farm during our plays. In conclusion, I believe ORVs on township roads will negatively impact the experience and product of a very successful township business. Finally, a more general point. If the current restriction on ORVs being on township roads stays in place, ORV users will not be, I feel, negatively impacted. They will still be able to enjoy their sport, their recreation on thousands of kilometers of dedicated trails throughout the province. However, if the township roads are open to ATVs, side-by-sides, and dirt bikes, those residents who came to Cavan or who stay in Cavan because of the relative amount of peace, safety, and quiet offered by this rural setting will be negatively affected by the added noise and risk. Their quality of life will, I believe, be compromised, reduced. For me, this whole issue boils down to common sense. Off-road vehicles on roads, does that make sense? Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Robert. Madam Clerk, we've got two speakers that had difficulty connecting. I believe we have Gary Otten on the phone now. You want to try Gary?
Mr. Mayor, I've brought him in on the phone. He too may have to hit *6 to be able to unmute himself.
Okay.
Hello?
Welcome, Gary.
Finally. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just a sec. In the background, you might have this playing and there's an echo on your call. If you could just shut off the other device or take it in the other room, then we can hear you clear.
Shut that off, I guess.
Okay, just put it to your ear.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
We can hear you now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and staff for giving us this opportunity this evening. As you know, I sell real estate in the area, and many have talked about people not wanting ORVs in this area. Many of the people that I deal with move here because of that recreational opportunity. More so today with the pandemic, our ORV interest has gained popularity beyond belief. All people want to do in this area is access our recreational trails. If we go to the Millbrook Valley Trail Master Plan, it highlights in there that they will build trails of multi-use, and we have no multi-use trails. The people that move in that are new residences, residents, they believe that they can ride on the roads and to access the trails. But our trails have been taken over by walkers and bikers over the last 10 years, and we provided no multi-use trails for that recreational outlet. Many of our property values will increase as a result of the recreational benefit, no different than living on a lake. Our location allows us the good fortune of being able to access a trail that could take us all the way to Bancroft. We could certainly use that extra business in this township, and our businesses could use that extra business. I would hope our councillors recognize the benefits instead of all the fear-mongering that's taking place. My concern is this: if we don't vote in favor of it, we will have people that race down these roads too fast, without control, because they believe they're breaking the law. We need to provide a legal opportunity for them to access the trails, which will then be monitored by ATV organizations that we put in place. We will do our own policing. We will also help build multi-use trails where it clearly states in the Millbrook Valley Trails to try to align ourselves with those organizations to help construct those opportunities. So please, I beg of you to reconsider that our recreational benefit will supply a great opportunity for this township. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. Our last speaker is James McPherson. James, have you been able to reconnect? Let's see, do I see him in the participant list here?
I've brought him in to be able to speak. I don't see that he's unmuted though.
Okay, James. Oh, maybe that's it.
No, he's still showing muted.
He's still showing muted. James, on your screen, you should be able to see. Is he on the phone?
Nope, he's logged in.
Oh, I don't see him on my list.
It's under Glenda McPherson.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've clicked and asked to unmute, which seems to have worked, but I don't have them unmuted. I'm not sure if he was aware that we were going to come back.
Okay, James or Glenda, you are connected. You just have to hit the unmute on your screen, on your display, in order to speak.
Mr. Mayor, you're muted.
Okay, I can just speak on the phone, can I?
Okay, I've got James. Can you everybody hear him? Madam Clerk?
Yes, we can hear him.
Go ahead, James.
Okay, you can hear me, can you? Can you hear me, Scott?
Mr. Mayor, he's coming through on the computer now.
Okay.
Is that any better?
We can hear him.
Go ahead, James.
Okay, Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make my presentation. You can still hear me, can you? Okay. For a number of years, the issue of allowing ORVs to travel on township roads in Cavan Monaghan Township has been an ongoing discussion between the pro-supporters and the non-supporters, whether council should put in place a bylaw or force ORVs could legally travel on the roads. Right across Ontario, many townships, counties have allowed ORVs to use the roads and trails for years. Allowing ORVs have success to the towns villages and proven to be an economical benefit for the local businesses. After reading the letter that was published in the paper on November 16th by Port, it's evident to me that they have no knowledge of the usefulness and the versatility of the ATVs. ORVs are enjoyed for recreation, but also many owners use their ORVs to plow their neighbors' driveways. In hunting season, hunters use them to get to their destination, and farmers find them dispensable in carrying out their day-to-day farming activities, sometimes requiring them to use the roads. ATVs are as safe to operate on roads as snowmobiles or any other motorized vehicles that are legal to travel on roads, as long as they are operated responsibly and comply with the rules of the road. The largest percentage of Cavan Monaghan is rural and agricultural land and includes many trails, road allowances, and abandoned rail lines. There is no reason why some of these could be designated and signed for hikers, bikers, and cross-country skiers, and others for ORVs and snowmobiles. This will work well only if the motorized vehicles can use the township roads to get onto the trails. In closing, I would ask for myself and all pro supporters in the township that council will address this important issue carefully and keep an open mind to the advantage of allowing ORVs to use township roads. I see no reason why the township of Cavan Monaghan cannot join other townships and counties in Ontario and implement a bylaw to allow ORVs to operate on township roads and eventually have access to the town of Millbrook. Thank you and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, James. That concludes this evening's speakers, Madam Clerk. So to council, could I get a resolution to close the public meeting? Got Deputy Mayor Graham and Councillor Belch. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Huntley,
Yes.
Councillor Belch,
Mute, Councillor Belch.
He's frozen now.
We might have lost Councillor Belch
Oh,
oh,
on
there he is.
on the contentious vote of closing the resolution for the public meeting.
I got it now.
Okay.
Councillor Belch,
Just, yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham,
Yes, and just a thanks to staff and everyone who took the time to contribute to the meeting.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes, and well said, Deputy Mayor Graham. Motion is passed. So the public meeting is closed. And further along that lines, thank you to all of the participants in this evening's discussion. Thank you to the council. Thank you to the staff, Madam Clerk, for the presentation. And with all the information that we've received tonight, I will remind everybody, you can continue to provide feedback on the issue of the roads in the Cavan ward to the clerk with the email address orv@cavanmonaghan.net, and feedback will be received up to and including December 4th, which is this Friday. And with all of that information in hand, staff will be coming back with a report in 2021 specific to the Cavan ward. North Monaghan and Millbrook wards will be dealt with in parallel with the Peterborough County Transportation Master Plan, and individuals will have their opportunity through that process in order to provide their feedback relative to those two wards. So with that, I'm going to read the confirming bylaw, being bylaw number 2020-69, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special meeting held November 30th, 2020. You read a first, second, third time, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate seal attached thereto. Moved by Councillor Belch and seconded by Deputy Mayor Graham. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Huntley,
Yes.
Councillor Belch,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham,
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. And can I get a motion to adjourn? We got Deputy Mayor Graham and Councillor Belch. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Belch,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Huntley,
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. Meeting